Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Islands of Insight. I thought I had set everything up the way I wanted it, but I guess not 100% here, because I'm still feeling like the mouse and keyboard setup is still awkwardly out of place. So, almost all the lore we're getting now in this fifth open area, this fifth section, which you would probably best label this game as a game that has probably somewhere closer to 10 acts, and we are in the fifth act, which would say we're about halfway through. Depends on how much of the mainland stuff you really want to do. But back to my original point, almost all of this has to do with the fracture and the unknown realm. And the unknown realm, I assume, is the thing that is on the other side of the fracture, but we don't know if this is just like lore from hundreds, thousands of years ago, possibly, if years even exist in this world. So everything could be fixed. I wouldn't be 100% surprised if it turned out all the jump pads in the game are actually just the expulsion of the fracture's energy that have been harnessed. Because the jump pads in this game are uniquely different from a lot of the rest of the game. There is a lot of inconsistency, obviously, just because this is pre-made architecture from the Unreal Engine store. Aurel, there's nothing else you can tell me about the unknown realm. Only Obley has witnessed its true nature. It is a boundless family tree of worlds within worlds, continuing forever. It almost feels like getting past the fracture is the online MMO aspect of this game. And that'd be very weird too if you started the game and you had to play for hours and hours and hours, 60 to 100 hours, before you really got to the point where you could play with other players and just travel to their instance of this same world. Unless there was just a massive shark and I went to another person's world and the entire map was different, which that would be crazy if that was the case. But even if that was the case, I'd imagine that would just be procedurally generated. At that point, if you had a procedurally generating map and procedurally generating puzzles, you'd have a game that literally could go on forever, but you would not be accounting for a human's need for satisfaction or a general lack of infinite attention. So you very well might have a game that could be played forever that just wouldn't be played forever by anybody except for maybe a couple of people on the entire planet. We also have a very weird visual effect while we're doing this. Then perhaps the fracture is of little consequence on the other side, an injury to a single leaf of an infinite tree. It is a hopeful thought, but even a small injury to an infinite realm could mean the death of uncountable number of worlds within it. Yeah, so it feels almost like they're talking deep philosophy or something really important, but really on the face of it, I'm not sure anything they're saying really matters. Let's see, can we find some matchboxes? Do we see any red ones around the realm? And then we can see there's another lore giver way at the top of that temple. And yeah, we could certainly wander around all of this. Here's a wandering echo. We do have a daily quest to do wandering echoes, so So let's chase that one just because of our daily quest. There we go. Not jumping in and out there. Let's see. As I'm running around here, probably moving a little too fast. No. I still have no clue if these sky drops aren't just procedurally generated forever. So we were going to do this enclave next. Leaves in the wind. So let's enter the enclave. These are the jumps I'm talking about. This could be fracture energy that has been just created in such a way to harness it. Alright, well, not much to that, really. We also need to do 6 more glide rings, and I honestly question how many glide rings are in the entire game. The bonus is to solve all 5 sentinel stones, solve 5 puzzle grids, solve matchboxes. Okay. I saw a green puzzle here. Where'd it go? There it is. Just go ahead and mark anything we can see early, since we have that ability now. Of course, that means we'll lose those 2 markers eventually. Not a big deal. I can't imagine too many people would have any trouble with those. Just getting it perfect on the first try. You would have to make something very twisty. The fact that you just have to hang back and you'll start to slowly glide down makes them way too easy. And clearly, a lot of these puzzles, or in particular the physical puzzles like that, were late minute additions, concepts that they hadn't gotten very far into development before they needed to push this game out. It almost certainly was a case where there was a team making logic grid puzzles that did things way better. Okay, so I'm assuming the trick here is that this is just rotated by 45 degrees. So this is this, this is this, this is this, which are meaning that, 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 and that. And because you rotate things 45 degrees, it meets the pieces by their edge, leaving a lot of empty space, making it harder to recognize. Slightly harder to recognize. I could see players struggling with that, though, because we just have not seen those kinds of puzzles before. I guess we'll stay on the mainland for now. But there is a way to fly. And almost certainly you're going to fly through those rings and then fall off the edge. very well could be a fairly small enclave. Okay. So in this case, we're seeing 3s, so it's not crazy to assume that. We're seeing that they always connect, so we can assume that. Actually, I think this is white, however. And then I think because this is black here, we have to assume it's going this way, and then we could assume it's going this way, but nothing really stops you from doing this or this. But the pattern, more often than not, seems to be pairs of 2. There's 2 here, then no, even that doesn't really make sense. So there might be multiple solutions here, but that's one of them. E-flood fill, still proving itself to be fairly useful, although not really doing that much to actually make the game easier. This tree is right in the way. Can I see it from that spot? No. Okay, we can hit it from there. That's the wrong target. That is the wrong target, isn't it? Okay. That's probably a great example also of where you could procedurally generate matchboxes pretty easily just by having spots where there's multiple alternate solutions. And so you could change the symbol on this and it would be connectable to this in a reset. Although I'm fairly certain the enclaves are going to be more set in stone sections. Okay. Now, in fairness, there's a little bit going on here that you have to sometimes push forward to maintain you have enough momentum. That's weird. Then I'm gonna have to drop, I think, in this case. And walked back onto ground to start the race. Jump in the air. There's just nothing here. It would have had to have been an air burst. Ah, what a trick. What a trick indeed. What a trick I am failing to engage with properly. Okay. Is this a case, I wonder, or this just keeps letting you do it forever? I wonder if I could have just walked somewhere else. So only that one ring is good enough. Which that kind of makes some sense. So, yeah. I guess the question is, does that count? Or can I even go back and do that again? That may be it. This would be a good example also of where having a flyby or a camera would be helpful. You know, facing the other direction is probably a smart move. My other thought would be maybe you're supposed to land on this one. But no, that one doesn't shoot you anywhere as high. I suppose you could fly a little too far off the edge. And the amount you fall when gliding is almost nothing. Honestly, even if you had like controller support that was really, really bad here, it would be a struggle to make that challenging. It would have to be pretty awful. Okay. Well, this one looks somewhat bemusing because this section doesn't seem like it really mirrors this section. This section doesn't really mirror anything. I am noticing a pattern that you have 1, then 3, then 3, then 1, then 2, then 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 1. So let's assume that that is correct. Okay, so 1 then 3, 3 then 1, and then 2, and then 2, and then 3, then 1, then 2, then 2, then 3, then 1, then 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1. And then all white would have to be my assumption there. And so that didn't seem like that worked. Okay, is there some other aspect to this I should be connecting with? Two, then 1, then 3, then 1. 1, then 2, 1, then 2. Let's just use some foresights. Okay, so why was that wrong? 1 then 3, 3 then 2. Maybe the middle section here is actually more like that. Then 3 then 1, 2 then 1. Just making guesses. Now, this one's got me totally confused as to why would that be black. Like, what am I doing here at all? And that's the entirety of my foresights. If we were to treat each strip individually, would that mean something? If I was to just look at the dark pieces, does that make some kind of shape? If I was to just look at the light pieces, does that make some sort of shape? Yeah, it does look like this part here is just inverted of this. So if that is the case, then the inversion of this should be something closer to that, and that, and that, and that. So what am I doing wrong, if that's the case? That is what I'm doing wrong. Okay. that one connect to that one? No. Does that one connect to that one? Yes. Keep taking my fingers off the keyboard. That's one of the best things about controllers, is that there's just a natural one placement as far as where you would put your fingers. This big open area, you would expect there to be a pretty easy solution to this, but I'm not really seeing it. There's too many possible things in the way. And I don't think the game particularly delights in doing that, but I don't think it's really upset when that happens either. They didn't try very hard to prevent that from happening. And we're gonna kind of be done with this fairly quickly. Yeah, if there... Why did I miss one? Did I miss one? Well, the game certainly seemed to imply that I missed one. I don't know where I would have even gone. It's funny how these tree leaves sometimes feel like they're forming shapes. And they could be, very possibly, doing exactly that. Okay. Looking around here, it says our best has been 10. Is it possible that it's possible that there's some of those that just have tin rings or just have silver solutions and don't have other kinds of solutions? And see, I don't know if it's even worth it to investigate that island. It probably is, considering how sneaky this game occasionally is. There's a lot of room for something hidden under all of this. Okay, let's see. I assume then this is a pattern that is being shifted up by one and to the right of one, and then, or you could even consider it a pattern that is just being shifted up 2, and that would be even easier. So if this is shifted up 1, 2, then these 2 would be there, and all of that would be white. If this is shifted up 2, then those 2 would be there, and all of that would be white. And then those two would be there, and all of that would be white. Okay. What went wrong there? Well, this wasn't shifted up 2. This was shifted down 2. Something like that. Which maybe means that was shifted down 2 instead of up 2 and wrapping around that way. So there, possibly, and there. So yeah, I guess there was 2 possibilities to consider there. This is an oddly empty area. It seems like there's something important here. Inherently, previous was 20, best was 20. We ended up on this. Yeah, I guess maybe there just aren't always going to be gold solutions. Because you're building your world here for the ring things, the ring puzzles and flying, you are going to have to let's see. Okay. So there's more to the pattern here in the middle, obviously, but not sure what. You have 1 here and a 2 here, and then you have zigzag here. And this isn't an environmental puzzle. Nothing feels possible. Yeah, we've got the foresights, we might as well just use them. Wait a minute, so why is that wrong? That just breaks everything at that point. Makes me wonder if this isn't the solution. I am very confused here. It almost feels like what the move here then would be is to just draw a black line out of nowhere and start the whole pattern over again. Which, if we're going to do that, that would be something like that. Then it would also mean something like that. we know it's not everything. So my assumption is that this much is right. Is this a pattern that is being shifted to the right one? No. Is it being shifted to the left one? Only if it was a smaller pattern. But then this lining up here pretty much implies that that can't be the case. Is there a reflection here? Yes. Is there a reflection here? Kinda. Why is this dark? Is there a reflection from on this axis? Not as far as I can tell. So there is something about this. 3. But what am I supposed to take from that? And certainly this isn't something I could brute force. There's just no way around that. Still gonna leave that alone because it's not complaining about anything over here, which either means it hasn't tested anything over here yet and it's just starting over in this corner, which it does seem like the way it tests is that it just randomly picks a corner to start with. That way you're not really getting any extra information. Okay, very confused now. Alright, so it's 3, then 1, then 1, then 1. Don't get it. This does look like it is reflecting. If this was the line, it almost looks like it's reflecting, but it's not quite reflecting either, because this would be in this spot if that was the case. In fact, the pattern seems to be that it grows to some level. But it's not really doing that. So what more can I take information for to get down to that spot? One, 2, 3, 4. Then theoretically that would be 5. Then theoretically that would be 6. So it had to do with the black spots here growing. And as far as I can tell, nothing else, as far as this pattern is concerned, is that you just had this giant buffer on the left, and then the white line, and then these black spots getting wider, adding more space to the rest of this pattern, which inherently just pushes everything else way off the edge of the map. Whatever the rest of that pattern may be. I don't even think you're supposed to have a chance of knowing. You would think there would be something behind this Buddha statue, which I don't know how you don't call that a Buddha statue. Of course, this is a world of only seekers. There are no humans, as far as we can tell, in this world, so a Buddha statue makes a little less sense than it normally would. Although there is, I guess, a thought that you could loosely attribute to seeking enlightenment. Of course, depends, I guess, if you want to engage with Buddhist theology around the desire causing pain and suffering. This is very weird. What in the world was that supposed to help me with? Maybe there is a trick around all that. Previous best. Okay. So you automatically get a warp ability for this. Previous best. So the previous best isn't really helpful in the way it's set up, because it's only telling you what the best score you've ever gotten is and what your previous score is. It's not telling you what the goal is. So the goals inherently come from you just having to figure it out. Standing on this spot. I cannot see another ring, but almost certainly there is one somewhere. I'm not even in that spot anymore, so okay, moving on. Yeah, I guess if it makes a sound, you've just done as many as you can. And once you've done them all, you've, I guess, probably done them all. I think the easiest way to go forward here, since I'm struggling to find the way up to this higher section, is to simply do that. Interesting. That is a... You have to actually stand on the ground. You can't just cheat. Okay. Suppose I should warn you too that there is a decent chance I'm gonna get a phone call and have to pause this recording for a sec. It'll just be a fraction of a second for you, and it'll probably be several minutes for me. It's difficult for anyone, frankly, to find a good 2-3 hours to play a game like this without being distracted. Of course, a lot of people, I would say most people, are not trying to create content at the same time, so small distractions, bathroom breaks, things like that are usually less of a issue. Of course, if you're all about the MMO or multiplayer, it can easily become an issue. So again, I just think I got it there. I don't think that there's anything more to that puzzle. And it might be that there is something more. Or it might just be that some of these puzzles only give you a certain amount of reward. So I kind of know I haven't done this perfectly. And see, that's the perfect there, where I think I've gotten them all, and yet it still doesn't 100% feel like it. Okay, well, one assumes that is that. But then you also have a connection to that, and that, and this one here, and then this one here. This is an awfully large amount of empty space, both in this corner and this corner. Interesting. So that's wrong. Which means something different is happening here. 1, 2, 3, 3. 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2. Okay, I don't get that at all. 2, 2, 1, 1. What shape are we making here? Is it that? Then would it be something like that? Okay. Yeah, and inherently, you get into this problem where 6 foresights is just not enough. So, do you want to leave this whole area and come back later? Or do you want to just sit for several minutes, letting 1 foresight fill in? Okay, once again, this is causing me some confusion. Alright, let's make an assumption here then that this is supposed to be a mirroring image. If that is the case, it would look more like that. And some of this I'm mirroring based off of what the game itself has told me to do. There's so much empty space that's not locked in. However, once you get down to this spot, this could be completely blank, and it still would follow the concept of mirroring. And then, yeah, I have no clue as far as what the pattern really should be. Unless it's something weird. Let's see. I was thinking it might be an expanding, that you're adding extra room. If you were doing that, it'd probably be something like that. Is it something closer looking vertically on the columns that would make more sense? This rotated and inverted. Okay, I'm very confused then. So it's not a mirroring factor. This, if it was rotated 90 degrees and inverted, would make that same shape. Sure. But then the next part of that would have to be something along this line. And that wouldn't work. Yeah, just nothing is fully making sense, and definitely feels like I am not going to figure that one out for the moment, so let's wander around and do something else while we let the foresights refill. That is probably a perfect example of where these ring puzzles in particular would be helpful, is that it would give you something physical to do while waiting for the foresights and hints to fill in. Although this does really touch upon the fact that there's just far too many foresights. I mean, there are far too many logic grid puzzles in the game compared to any other activity, so that there really is no balancing around that. Trying to see if that maybe there'd be a way to that's the wrong one. Pretty obviously this is what you have to do. You have to click on one of these. There's a tiny little sliver. We have to bounce up. Get that to work. Notice how that matched it way in the air, too. One more of these. And that's our Luminous quest done. Although that inherently doesn't mean we've done all of them. Ooh, can we figure this pattern out? I think pretty easily. Like, seems kind of obvious where you would be going with this, isn't it? These are pluses that are getting cut off by a lot of restraints. What did I do wrong? I don't want to use a foresight on this one. I'm noticing that the corners here seem to be a bit more filled in. So maybe it's more of a case of the zigzag line bouncing around. I guess it was. Is that a matchbox? This feels like this would be about the only angle. Maybe over here. We can still see that. There's also one over here. There we go. There's 4 more matchboxes. Okay. Very confused. Are we getting anywhere with this? No, I think I'm just mentally checked out on that, so once again, just leave. And I imagine this is the experience that a lot of puzzle players might take, is that they may just go in circles in an area, going backwards and forwards between 3 or 4 different possible puzzles. Of course, there's only so much you can mentally juggle before you're gonna forget where you left your markers or where you're mentally remembering where puzzles were. This one actually seems like this should be pretty easy. If this went like these are just like arrow keys, which is somewhat insulting, frankly, considering there isn't controller support here. And that you're just you're implying a D-pad, directional pad input in a game that does not itself support any controller inputs. Did I get them all? Like, a lot of times I wonder if there isn't just like one hidden way in some far distant location. Or maybe there are even Grandmaster trials of these puzzles that are just not going to unlock. I think I got them all. But then maybe the reason why there is a arc here is to block your vision. That time it felt like it gave me silver. Is it possible that the limitations here are higher than I think? In the sense that maybe, and that time it was gold. Maybe there's a limitation on the number of times you can bounce. That would kind of make some sense. Or there might be very specific ways in which you're supposed to solve it. And you just kind of have to figure that out. So you want to get fairly high, I suppose, there. And then the amount of height you get there. But even at that, that's still not really doing everything. Okay. The only way that would somewhat fit is if there was something like that. And then I'd just assume that. And then I would assume that there is a massive 5 here. I would just assume that, and assume that. It could be the case that, no, really can't. Two, 4, maybe 6. Yep. Instead of just adding 1, we doubled it. And we'll get some more lore. Can we be certain of Obley's memories? They are fragmented and half remembered. He often questions their authenticity. A valid thought, yet never before has Obley been so certain of a memory. it was not a mere glimpse. He spent a lifetime within the unknown realm. And we saw part of that conversation. I feel like the game kind of lagged there, loading in. There's something sneakier about this. Maybe this is supposed to be the big reveal that this whole time you've been solving them incorrectly. Inherently, if you know where you're going, though, did I get them all that time, or did I miss some? I have no idea. And if these are giving me sparks, it's probably not a lot of sparks. We haven't even looked today. We're at 1,000, but we're at this point where I could buy that for 1,000 out of safety, but then any more sparks I get need to be up in the 4,000s. At least 4,000 sparks. Okay. Okay, I struggled with that. I don't know why I got so off on what now in retrospect looks like a fairly obvious continuation of the pattern. I think it's this that threw me off. The fact that this shape here is actually just this shape missing the top piece here. And this is also part of these shapes. It really is just the same shape, diagonally mosaicked. Let's see. 3 more pattern grids. Several more matchboxes. There's actually quite a lot of them hidden around here. And glide ring courses. Weird. I suppose this is an area that is built where you're going to be doing the glide ring courses over and over again. Sure that was all there was to do here. Wow. Okay, this is going to be a heck of a pattern continuation. So what do the little symbols on the edge tell us? And hovering over a cube makes a sound effect. Well, let's start with something simple. Do we think that is true? Probably. Yes. Do we think that is that? Probably. Then you have this. You know what this feels like is an old computer game called The Game of Life. That's pretty famous. And I don't think for a second I can prove anything. If this was the game of life, I don't know what I could prove here. I don't know what to do about these. So that's wrong. That's wrong. Where's it even pointing? Okay. Again, I'll just leave that area. That shot me in the odd section. Where in the world is the matching piece to that matchbox? It would have to either be really close, and I'm just not seeing it, or it would have to be on a far different angle. Here's another one that really can only be at certain angles to even see it. It's either going to be really high so much foliage and trees. I don't think, though, that is the right one. Squarish diamond with an X over it symbol. That's not the right one. Then would there be any way we could hit that and that? Yes, we could hit that and that, but again, those aren't the right symbols. It definitely feels to me like there's just room for things to be modified in this world, and it's no evidence that it really does that. Definitely feels like everything is set in stone very static. Alright, solve that one. Okay. So far away. A lot of symbols. A lot of matchboxes we haven't seen yet. Weirdly, I would say that the lore in this game is very poorly adding anything as far as the actual experience, because inherently, if you start to focus on the lore, you are getting distracted from the puzzles. I've just realized here that you've got to hit a bare minimum of rings on all of these, and that may also exclude you from bouncing against walls. Oh, there were so many more. And so we now know what the whole deal is. It's very possible I have flown through some of these and assumed success, when in reality I didn't even get to the minimum. Although I also wouldn't be surprised if I really have just gotten success on most, if not all of them. It really does seem like 3 is required. But then it also seems like there really is only 3 of them. And there might be a time limit on this. Yeah, but look here, there's only 3. And that was it. found one matchbox. Get rid of that marker. Try and jump around a little bit more. Find different spots. Keep an eye out for, I suppose, 2 more flying sections, which I assume aren't the first 2, because that would be annoying. Here's a logic puzzle we could have easily always missed. So, if there's 1, it expands to have 3 below it. So, then there should be 1 here and 1 there. And then this 2 spot probably should expand to that much. And we're gonna assume this isn't recursive, and then I'm not supposed to just expand further here. So I'm gonna assume that that is mostly right. If it was recursive, then it would eventually just fill the entirety of the bottom section with black tiles. Some of these are very much press forward and go as fast as possible. Although, inherently, if you're a gamer, you kind of can handle this level of speed. I think most gamers could pretty easily. The only kind of gamer that might struggle with this level of speed would be puzzle gamers, in particular. The type of people that want to take it nice and slow. So that does certainly bring about a question. I kind of feel like that last section literally is having you just fly through all of the previous sections. I'm using a lot of the shoot up into the sky to build these right now. That is red. So there are 2 more pattern grids. That takes us off this enclave. Yeah. See, that one's glowing brightly, but I don't think that's one we haven't actually solved. These are 2 logic grids. Okay. This could be upside this. Upside down version of that. are these two supposed to be really connected at all? My instinct would be to just fill that with pieces to start with. Start with a base coat of primer as far as painting tiles. If this is upside down from that, then let's take that same thought. If then what? One, two, two. Hole punch, one. No. I don't think it's the mathematics of it. This was rotated. That wouldn't really make a lot of sense. Is this somehow close to that? Doesn't feel like it. So one foresight, one hint tells me that should be like that. Does any of that make any sense to me? What if it was something like that? What are we doing? I am seeing a pattern here that would scream filling in things. I guess this is where a great example of where this whole thing probably should work better. I almost wonder if this puzzle and this puzzle aren't supposed to work together in some way. I mean, this really just feels like a mess. Fill in a whole bunch of white. And then have one foresight tell me I'm wrong. And then seeing a pattern of twos down below here. And we're seeing a pattern of things being wider than twos. We're seeing a pattern of something like that. Probably am right as far as all that goes. Could it be something like that? Well, pretty obviously it isn't. This is not going to be helpful, is it? in any way to come back and do this. Just bounce between different shapes. And that's not the craziest as far as pattern matching goes. See, if I just look at the dark pieces, not really seeing anything. If I just look at the white pieces, I see that there's this section in the middle here. In no way would you be able to connect all the dark pieces and all the light pieces. However, 5, 5, and 5, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or 1, then 2, 1, then 2. This, then one deeper, then one deeper, and one deeper. Three and one. One, 2, 3, and 1. The numbers are matching. The positions are not matching. So I don't really see the full positioning there, but the numbers are matching. So it's almost like all the black tiles just fell downward and were heavier if they were liquid, and so they settled to the bottom with all the white tiles just stacking at the top. So if that's the trick there, let's see if we can apply that same trick here. I mean, it does seem to me like that is a possibility. Okay. But there's clearly more of a pattern happening here. If anything, it's like this fell down to fit that. This fell down in a Tetris style to fit that, and that's really what this is, isn't it? This would have fallen down to that, this would have fallen down to that, this would have fallen down to that, and this would have fallen down to that. Okay. Fully understand all of that, but that's all the logic puzzles also. Well, I was anticipating more, so I was going to come over here and look behind here and see if there was a green. know. I'm fairly certain we haven't done that one. It says that there are 3 remaining and we see 4. Match blocks we would have needed to see 6 if we marked them all, which we almost certainly haven't. Okay. So, let's rethink this using the concept of the falling Tetris pieces. Would this all make sense? Not 100%. And yeah. That wouldn't fully make sense either. Because it then would have to be an inversion if it was just to continue to fall downward. And then this doesn't really fall down into that in any way. Is it possible things would move to the left? Can't help but feel like this is totally some ridiculous. It must be diagonal, that it expands diagonally in each pattern. But if this expanded diagonally, I don't know why that would be dark. Yeah, we're going to definitely have to just come back to that later. And this might be a great spot where warp points could play a much bigger role. Already solved that one. Yeah, being able to warp yourself back to the previous area instead of having to rely on a lot of jumping and gliding. I would assume that to be very beneficial. Where's the puzzle cube? It is there. Okay, I think I saw that symbols match, but where did I see it? That symbol matches that symbol. Good. So these are right next to each other. Yeah, if only they were all that simple. It certainly does beg the question as to maybe there is a matchbox on this island. Is this the first one we landed on? I don't feel like it was, but maybe it was. Maybe it is a thing where let's see if we can get high enough here. This is the starting one. Yeah. I imagine these little arcs are not gonna hide a secret. I guess I should applaud this game for the fact that really there has only been one point where there was a very difficult jump on the platforms puzzle. And there's only been a couple points. That island there is confusing. Is that island over there part of it? Am I supposed to really fly all the way over to that section? Let's look at the map. Is that really part of it? Well, either that is part of it, or that is a mystery. Nope, that is part of Vaulted Heights. Although that may be something helpful as far as figuring out the last few things in Vaulted Heights I may have missed. All I wanted to do was get on top of this just to make sure that there wasn't a cube within a cube situation, which we've seen that a couple times. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more that there's just a somewhere on the surface here single cube I've missed, but I don't know where. Puzzle here I think we already solved. this puzzle. Yep. Doesn't look like there's a another thing. I can click on that practically any angle. Is that the right shape? Is that the right shape? I don't think it is. We already know that there are more matchboxes than what the bonus is requiring of us, so there's, I would guesstimate at least 50 puzzles, of which will be left to our own making to solve. That's about the thickest arc we've seen that could possibly have something hidden on it. I can definitely see where a lot of players might say they don't really like the ring puzzles in this game. Because in most games where you would have ring puzzle type, there's a whole room in there, Pilot Wings type experiences, it's either going to be very insignificant Mario style game that just lets you have some extra points by flying through rings, getting some extra coins in the most modern of Mario games. Or you have something like Pilot Wings, where Pilot Wings was all about flying through rings and things like that, and there's just a level of challenge you're expecting from that you should expect from something like Pilot Wings. Pilot Wings 64 in particular is what I'm thinking of. If I see a matchbox here, the odds of another matchbox being there are pretty low. Should try and stay at the highest spots. Assumes that lands you back. Here and here. It would imply to me that matches have to be at least on this side of the mountain. go out of our way to mark that so we don't forget about it. But it is also possible that those spots are just high up, so anything that can see them may be alright. It might be that being lower is the trick. Okay. Wow. I have no idea how I got so incredibly lucky there. None of this makes any sense to me. None of these are inversions really of each other, or in any way feel like they like anything. Like even these little dot things don't really make sense to me. So I must have just gotten very good at pattern repetition, and maybe that was the trick here. Like, it definitely feels unearned. There's no other way to put it, and that's not fun in puzzle games when you actually are enjoying the challenge. Of course, at any point a player may stop enjoying a challenge. I definitely don't want to be given so much of a assistance. Although, in fairness, for that puzzle I would have just kept on clicking foresights forever. I wonder if there's supposed to be one there and I just don't see it. It could be on the underside of arcs. Could be anywhere. And this is I think, a good example of a location where I may just want to get one more matchbox to be told how many more puzzles overall there are. And if it tells me that there's 12 more to do, then I'm gonna feel like I did a really poor job if there's that many left. If it tells me that there's 2 more to do, I'm gonna feel like I can probably figure that out. Although the 2 more to do almost certainly are gonna be something along the lines of finding matchboxes. We looked at every angle for everything. Is it possible that there are some matchboxes that are on the outsides of islands so you can't see them? That does seem believable. Trying to stay a little bit on the ground. end up ending this episode earlier than 2.5 hours to 3 hours. I want to call that early. You really do need that much time to do an enclave. Which that is definitely a thought to have. If you were going to make a game like this where it was supposedly, and I'm saying this, they never really said this, but if you were going to make a game that was supposed to be a game that could be played forever, wouldn't playing it in smaller chunks be appealing? Making twice as many enclaves half as big, reducing every puzzle area to much smaller sections. The Pentad bubbles in particular could have played a much bigger role and helped with that. Where you would just have a bubble to tell you don't go any further outside of that region. So you hit this spot, then how do you get to the top? Yeah, it feels like there was supposed to be a bridge that would wrap you up higher. And without that bridge, you're left remembering that you have the super high jump to reach the spot. There's no other way to get to this area. No. Yep. Shouldn't be this difficult, however. You would have to expect standing on this would point you in the right direction. The insides and the outsides of bottom hanging areas could be click on that one. Would be where I hid puzzle pieces. My general instinct would say investigate from here to there. Did we perhaps never squeeze back here? No, we did. We found a matchbox there. This is highlighting. Okay, found one. Does kind of highlight the kind of uselessness of the markers also. So we saw one under an elephant, and we have that's underground and one that's way over there. We also have the benefit of knowing that's we have the benefit of knowing that the one we're looking for is the one. So it stands to logic, if under is what we've been missing, under is likely the gimmick. Interesting, there's a whole missing elephant here. Elephant statue here. Elephant statue here. Elephant statue holding a match cube. An elephant statue seems to have been moved. Could it be under something? Wow. I looked 2 or 3 times behind there and still didn't see that. Perfect. So the game says that as far as this enclave is concerned, we have done 100% of everything. And yet, I don't have a real belief that we have done 100% of everything. I suspect that there are several fly-through ring sections here where I've missed at least one ring. Maybe that got me fewer sparks. Nothing else, but when a game says 100%, I expect it to really mean 100%. Or at the very least, in the case of The Witness, there's a mild spoiler here, in that the percentage counter goes up to like 300 and something percentage. Because there's a ton of extra secrets there. Apparently I found the hidden ring while landing there too, which is interesting. So the next part of the game would say travel to the place of enlightenment, which is not the highest viewpoint. Not that. Where is the place of enlightenment? So we'd be looking for a specific symbol. Here it is. The flame of enlightenment. That's where the game wants me to go. Before I did that, I would want to know, is it possible we could get enough Marblissas to do the highest viewpoint? Probably, because we could go and do shifting in phase. Yeah, which that makes sense to do that before we start to hint towards the end of the game. Now, enlightenment is not a bad thing, and I'm just going to fast travel to this spot because there, with that comes some promise, some possible promise that we are going to get something more. So that's going to give me 500 crystals, but remember those 500 sparks also are going to be taken away. Solve 100 puzzles, as we'll take that rare luminous quest. That's easy enough to do, I'm sure. Yeah, you would think something like this actually connect all the light cells. I think that probably means that this has to be light and this 6. I mean, if this was dark, then all, yeah, this couldn't work either way. So that has to be dark, that has to be light, that has to be dark. And then this can't be light, so that has to be dark. Then that has to be light, and that has to be dark. 1, 2, 3. It is possible that I just left that puzzle alone, but it's also very possible that puzzle just spawned. Now when it says solve 100 puzzles, does that specifically include everything? I think it does. This is a rather deep section that's going to really highlight how you just walk on water in this game. And that splashing is more of your visual stuttering causer. There might very well be a level of freedom that one gets if we do finally come to the realization that this just goes on forever. Yeah. I could certainly run around and play as much as I would want to with these puzzles in the overworld, not really caring about an actual goal or anything like that. There's still that game here to collect. Trans-universal proverb, to truly cherish something one must know its absence. We weird that you would get into an area like this and it would be so empty. Some of this, though, is obviously not. Let's see, connect all light, connect all dark. Okay. Slightly off. Of course, there's also a level of potential annoyance one could run into if you're actually trying and hoping to be able to solve these puzzles. See, I don't know if something like that could ever reset. Maybe it could, maybe it couldn't. Well, it could reset, but the question is, can it replace that? I don't think I'm too far off. And see, this is going to be a problem because I'm not going to really want to come back to this area. And I may very well just exit the game, but frankly, just doing a bunch of puzzles, I wouldn't be surprised if this resets even at that. And that's always been the problem with these rhythm ones for me, in particular, is that It doesn't seem too far off. And just having no musical ability. This is kind of a great example of, like, yes, I could run around the open world and do some other things, but it would take a decent amount of time. The debate is a bridge between minds. Notice they put that right on a bridge. This area is not that overflowing with puzzles. Mountain of Understanding has no summit. The Mountain of Understanding. Anyways. So I guess we will just ignore the puzzle, the rhythm puzzle. Which, if the puzzles go on forever, you can totally do. And that is the one benefit, I suppose, of if the puzzles go on forever. Okay. So for Serene Deluge, shifting in phase is the next one we want to do, and then the highest viewpoint, which we may have to run around a little bit to get the highest viewpoint, get enough mirror blisses, although not really too difficult to do because we could just run around this fifth area alone and do Pillars of Insights and Trials and see if we could even find the all-seeing monolith. Inherently though, I may struggle to do the all-seeing monolith because they're all time there's 0 of 150 it says of these sightseer puzzles. Interesting. So it might be that there are just timers on these puzzles in a crazy way, so that you would have to come back every 6 hours, every 12 hours, every 24 hours, because puzzles will just phase in and phase out. If that's, I mean, it seems to indicate that that is really the way this is going. That's kind of crazy. I don't see a way in which that works well for any kind of player at all. There's already way too many puzzles. All you're really doing is guaranteeing that they just won't no player will see them all. Yeah, they have hard numbers for the puzzles. So it's not procedurally generated. It's just that, well, at least to the point where the game is not constantly creating an infinite number of puzzles. It is just that they have created a huge number of puzzles overall. So even if the all-seeing monolith does reveal to you the location of all puzzles, that amount of puzzles that will be shown to you will always be a very high number. Your familiarity of the entire area is going to become contempt very quickly when you're just wandering around Cyrene Deluge multiple times. I imagine the thought would be, once you've just done everything that is of the main game, you would just log in every day and walk around each of these 5 fairly large areas looking for puzzles that are phased in. But there's still a lot to do here. We have to we still have to admit that there's, I suspect, a limited number of Mariblisses that you're going to want to collect. You're going to want to do all the trials. You're going to definitely want to do all the mysteries. And then there probably will be a point where there's still 9,000 plus puzzles that phase in and out in the overworld, and I suspect only in the overworld, so you'll probably never go back to any of the enclaves once you've done 100% of the puzzles in the enclaves. But yeah, we've done all the other enclaves in all the other sections, and that clearly is the main game direction to hit the Flame of Enlightenment. And if we travel to the place of enlightenment and then it reveals a bigger mystery, that would be fairly nice. Let's see, we can't upgrade anything a second time, so we really are just looking for 4,000 points to get Flow Master Grand Master times, which actually there's very few Flow Master puzzles we've even seen. It would probably be better to simply hold on to your sparks and get dual luminous offerings, and or hold on for warp beacons, where I can see warp beacons would be very useful. We've collected another lore fragment and another costume in leveling up twice. We've seen all the types of puzzles, which I think means we're still short on 2 grid rules. Wouldn't it be crazy if there was some way to solve every single logic grid by just simply doing something cheap, by, I don't know, putting an X pattern in the top left corner or something? There's still a lot of things that we could unlock with the Pillars of Insights. We've collected a decent percentage of the lore fragments, but not all of them, so chasing after them may be very difficult. I'm still not 100% sure what unlocks Echoes of Times. I think it's mysteries, solving mysteries. And then the mysteries here are actually from the element of having a hint for the mysteries. And that's where we will have to find more Mariblisses, is if we're going to chase after the mysteries, then we've got to do all the trials, all the Pillars of Insights first, because that is almost certainly going to be the requirements of getting enough Mariblisses to unlock the hints to the mysteries, and we really do need the hints to the mysteries. We're not going to stupidly walk into all of them. Looking for lore fragments might be very difficult, and finding an all-seeing monoliths may be very difficult also. in that if we don't just walk past the cubes for the all-seeing monoliths, we very possibly are not going to see them. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.